and the Stator. Got Allens all the way around this cover here, and we've loosed them all. So I'm going to take an impact now. And I wouldn't want to take an impact and impact them out on this size of Allen, because it is they'll be very easily stripped out of there. Got your clutch cable coming down here, and that cover is 2 Allens to remove. Now, to adjust the clutch on your Yamaha Virago 700, you've got your clutch cable running down here, and you've got, tip it up so you can see a little bit better. Alright, to adjust the cable on your Virago 700, you can take your clutch cable right here and you can leave it hooked up. You take a 12 millimeter, excuse me, a 14 millimeter. Oh, good grief. Alright, we'll do a this is a 12. Yeah, it's a 12 millimeter. So loosen this lock nut here. Grief. This lock nut's tighter than it needs to be, but loosen that lock nut, and then take a Phillips screwdriver and run that screw in until it touches, until you can feel it touching something, and then back it out about a quarter of a turn or an eighth of a turn. So you want to make sure that you're not constantly putting pressure on there. Your clutch won't engage and disengage right. So that's why you got to back it off a little bit. Otherwise, your clutch is going to sit there and fry. So as soon as you get it to where it needs to be, take that, take the 12 millimeter wrench, tighten down your lock nut. Make sure that that center screw doesn't turn when you're doing that. If so, you just got to loosen it and do it again. And then I'm going to try to get this to a spot I can see there. And we've got oil everywhere. So to remove this cable, then they've got a little tab here that you've got to bend down. And then you take this cable, and if it's hooked up, it's a lot bigger challenge to do this. Because right now we don't have any pressure on, or very much pressure. Take that, pull it up as far as you can, and then slide it in that groove there. And that keeper that we bent out of the way would keep it from popping out of there, but we bent it down slightly to keep from having to do that. So we've got the clutch cable there. Evidently the oil was not drained out of this motor when we removed it. We've got an Allen head behind there, so you want to make sure that you don't miss that when you're trying to pull this cover off here. And we've got a broken piece there. Alright, that Allen is removed. This looks like this is a post here that obviously keeps this cable pulled down. So you want to make sure that you note that that post and that spring is hooked up where they need to be there. You can pull that cover off there. Here's your sight glass down here. If you're digging into your motor this far, you probably know where the sight glass is. If not, you may suggest stopping right here and taking your motor in to somebody else. couple spots you can kind of put some tension on this lever to pull up on, and that's one of them's right in front of those numbers there. All right, and this is magnetic because of the flywheel here, so you want to make sure when you're pulling it off that you there is going to be, just make sure you know that when you're pulling it off there's going to be a little bit of tension there. You've got a sensor down here that's still connected, and I'm not sure, some of these slide off, some of them are a Phillips screw. Try to get in behind this. This one is a Phillips screw. All right, we've got the stator here and the stator cover. We've got your pulsar there as well. And if you can see this cover here, this is the clutch area that we were adjusting. So we've got your gear position sensor down here, we've got an oil pump here, and I'm going to show you how to pull this flywheel now at this time. 22mm bolt. And I like to hang on to this so that we're not spinning that motor. Those cam chain can bind up and break that case, so you want to make sure you got pressure on there. Now you pull this motor, or this bolt here, and I take and put this back on, and I'll show you why here in a second. So remove that washer and then make it flush with there. Now you grab a flywheel puller on this model. Looks like this here. Then we might have to go grab some longer bolts, but we've got your claw here. This spins on there. And then we've got a point here. And the reason why we put this nut back on there, we don't want that crank shaft expanding when we push down on this. So we'll see if these bolts work. Again, it's going to be magnetic, so it's a little bit of a challenge to get these started. These aren't long enough, so we'll grab a little bit longer ones. All right, we've got some longer bolts there. Set that right down. I like to move this as far down as it'll go. And go ahead and put these bolts in. Now you want to make sure these bolts are threaded in at least a ½ inch. I like to go even farther than that if it allows it. Sometimes there's a bearing in behind there that won't allow you to go any farther. But if you're not in far enough, one side will pop out, your flywheel's junk at that point. Grab our impact socket there, grab our DeWalt 20 volt, 3/8 impact. And I still like to hang on to that flywheel or on that puller. You'll make sure you don't get your fingers in between there. It's not going to pop up because of that nut on there, but a lot of people forget to put that nut on there. Not the end of the world if you forget. Now, if it gets that far and you can't get it off there, what I do a lot of times, leave my impact on there, or my socket on there. Take and slam on it. A lot of times that'll break it free. If it doesn't, just stick your impact on there and this is a tight one. What I don't want is one of those bolt heads to break off and hit me in the face. I haven't seen one this tight in a while. There we go. Popped off of there. Now our bolts are bent. But our flywheel's in good shape, our puller's in good shape. We'll need new bolts, obviously. If I would have had a little bit bigger washer on there, it may have helped, but also may not have. That flywheel is tapered, which is why it gets stuck on there. I'll use that. We'll go ahead and pull this off there. Again, still hanging on the flywheel. And that is why we put these on there, is to keep those threads clean and able to just pull out of there like that. Now we've got your flywheel there. We've got a spring gear behind here, which is what you heard drop. And really pretty difficult to pull those off. I mean, keep all that together. A lot of times that's what happens. They'll just fall apart like that. And I'll show you how to put that back together here in a bit, but we've got springs and pins all over the place, so keep an eye out for those. Sometimes I'll put a magnet down there while we're pulling this apart because a lot of times they drop. Sometimes those gears will stay on there, but most of the time not. This is spring loaded